So how can I hear this? Like, where do I go?
To Spotify. And
Spotify.
yeah, welcome. We're live. Ron Lucas. That's the whole thing. So Spotify, we're working on getting it to like Facebook and YouTube and things like that. Spotify has a thing you could like do an RSS feed that will push it to all those other things. And so, but right now it's just Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good deal.
for sure. But man, Coach Lucas, you were my varsity coach. And I just thought it would be a fun conversation to hear about you. I mean, like, you've been in Athens for quite some time.
35 years.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I came to Athens in 1990.
From where?
Steubenville, Ohio.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
I am from Steubenville. I was actually born in Kentucky. So my dad was in retail a lot during my early childhood. So we moved around a little bit. I lived in a little outskirt of Cleveland called Brunswick, and
Bruns-Tucky.
And I lived in a little area outside of Dayton called Englewood.
Oh, cool.
And then we moved to Steubenville, where my mom and dad were originally from that area. They grew up and graduated from high school in that area. And then I spent the next 11 years of my life, 13 years of my life in Steubenville, including, playing high school football for Steubenville Big Red.
That's cool. Like now, knowing that now that we played them, like I had no idea.
So
Yeah.
that was a thing that Coach Adams and I kind of worked on together to make that happen.
That's awesome.
So we realized that we needed to play someone
For 4
of that
quarters.
caliber,
Yeah.
to get to where thought we needed your team to be.
Yeah.
And the Steubenville game met that criteria.
It was
Go ahead.
It was the first game that we played 4 quarters of football.
Yeah,
It was literally the
so
first
that
game.
was one thing that we knew we needed. So we actually had to work with the head coach of Steubenville High School, which was actually my head coach.
Wow.
And he's still the head coach.
That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, he started coaching in 1983, I believe, and he's still the head coach. So
That's
he's been
insane.
the head coach for 42 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, they had to drop a game. They had to get rid of a game. So they picked us up, knowing that we would be better computer points essentially if they were to beat us.
Yeah, of course.
But we know that didn't happen. But that was a really cool experience for me.
Yeah, it was.
'Cause I remember talking to you in the weight room about what to expect when we went to Steubenville, like the band and the tunnels and the flaming fire and the horse, the graveyard overlook. And I actually remember taking you and a couple other linemen over to that area and saying my grandfather's buried there. And so that was a really cool thing for me.
Yeah, I still remember that game.
I still have that picture afterwards of you and me.
That's awesome.
That picture that picture is awesome to me.
Yeah.
Like I know exactly where that picture is. I'm like, there's that picture.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite picture of the whole night.
Yeah, that's wicked. How did you get into coaching? Like, what did you start off just straight to Athens varsity football, or like
No.
what was your track like? Yeah.
So my coaching journey is actually really interesting. So I don't want to say I was burnt out from football after my high school years, but I was a little bit. I played from 3rd grade all the way through my senior year, and I could have went on and probably played some college football somewhere. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So I decided to come to OU, and I was free from football for about, until about 98 or 99, so almost 10 years I was free for football. I followed it. I paid attention to my high school. I paid attention to area sports like, Athens and Alexander, Trimble, Nelsonville. I paid attention once I got more comfortable with this area. My first couple of years I was in college, I lived in the bubble of OU.
Yeah,
I was like, hey, OU. I didn't get out and explore a whole lot. Didn't have a car.
Yeah.
So
is OU what brought you here originally?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
OU.
Cool.
So as I got more comfortable in the area, I was a bartender at a local establishment on Union Street, and somebody came in, and I can't remember who it was. I'll have to put a lot of thought into this. I can't remember who it was, but they said that they were talking about local youth football, and Athens had a team, and he told me to get in touch with a guy named Sam Smathers.
Yeah.
So everybody knows Sam,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Sam's a legend. So I did. I reached out to Sam, and he essentially interviewed me. And I coached third and fourth grade youth football with him.
Nice.
So that was in 2001 and 2002.
Wow.
So that was fun, and we went on to coach the fifth and sixth grade together because it was a group of kids. We wanted to keep the coaching consistent. So we went and coached them for a couple years, and then in 2005, a guy that I knew from college reached out to me and said that he needed an offensive line coach, and he knew I was coaching, and he was at Eastern in Meigs County.
Yeah.
I had a lot of guilt talking to Sam. I was like, this is an opportunity for me. I don't want to let it go. And he was really supportive. He was like, man, I think you should do it. You want to get into varsity coaching, you got to get some varsity experience.
Yeah.
So I did. So I coached at Eastern for 2 seasons. And then an opportunity rose at Athens in 2007.
So you were at Eastern for how long then?
2 years.
2
2
years.
years. Yeah. So I was at the youth ball for 4 seasons, and then Eastern for 2, and then Athens. I heard through the grapevine that there was a coaching change, and Ryan Adams was named the head coach.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Ryan at all, so I reached out from just cold call, essentially cold email. I was like, "Hey, I'm Ron Lucas. I'm a coach, and I've been coaching for 6 years." Told him about my experience in this, that, and other. Told him where I went to high school, because a lot of people, especially Ryan and I, are the same age, so he was actually in the playoff hunt his senior year. I remember our senior year. I remember looking in the newspaper at playoff rankings, and the only top two from each region made the playoffs back in the day.
Yeah.
So it was Steubenville and who did we play in the first round that year? Anyway, Athens was in the mix.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing that. So I made that connection, and he initially didn't respond to me. An email wasn't as big back in that early part of the 2000, mid 2010, 2000 to 2010 range. So anyway, I emailed him every day at the same time for about 2 weeks. I can be one persistent person if I need to be. Finally, he responded and asked me to come to the middle school for an interview. I did. We just hit it off. We didn't talk about football hardly at all.
That's cool.
We just hit it off. It was like the same generation, the same experiences, so we were really on the same wavelength, essentially. So he hired me, and then I went and we had our 2007 season, and I met a lot of people that were coaching you. So Matt Goodwin, Adam Gonzi, Scott Porterfield was on the staff.
He was my PE teacher.
Yeah, Steve McCollum, Ryan Adams, Bill Rogers.
Yeah,
so it was
Rob.
like just a really good staff, and we all hit it off. We had a chemistry that was untouchable. I can honestly say that the chemistry we had from 2007 all the way through 2017, I believe, was just so there. Like we were all on the same page.
Yeah.
Like and we didn't even say anything really. It just happened.
Yeah,
We just knew how to play off of each other, and it was a really cool experience for me. So I coached there. My kids started to get really busy in youth sports, so I stepped away after the 2017 season and took a year off.
Yeah.
And then the coaching itch came back, and I had an opportunity to coach my stepson as a fourth grader, and so I went in, coached youth ball at Alexander for a few years, and then middle school for 3 years, and then I went back into varsity last season.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
that's my journey.
Yeah, and yours is a little bit different than most coaches in that you don't work for the school system. And so, like, how did you manage that? Like, when you first started coaching, like, youth and stuff, right? It's like the evenings, like, parents have to get off of work too and stuff. But how did you manage that? Like, has your work just always been flexible? Did you ever have contention points with trying to, like, manage that? Like, did you have children yourself when you first started? Like, what was your time, and does that make sense? What I'm
Yeah,
at? Like, what does your life
absolutely.
look like when you started?
So my life when I started, it was kid free.
Yeah.
So I was recently married in 2001. I didn't have a kid until Janie was born in 2008. So that first 7 years was, and you're exactly on point. The first part of that, those first 4 years, games were on Sundays, practice was in the evening. So it didn't really conflict with my work. Now, when I got into varsity coaching, I was actually working, I was a supervisor at the street department right down the street here. And I basically just navigated my schedule differently.
Yeah.
I came in to work at like 6 a.m. and worked until 2,
Yep.
2:30
Yep.
and then left. And I continued that all the way through,
Yeah,
essentially. You know, so it's changed a little bit over the years. You know, getting back into it last year, I found it easier during the summer to be able to coach because I didn't have to take my kids from point A to point B.
Yep.
You know, my oldest is driving, so she was able to get herself to soccer practice. My stepson will be a junior. He goes with me, and we only live about a mile from the school.
Yeah, okay.
So it's really easy. Like if he does go with me, he can walk or run. You know, so. But the twins, they're going to be going to the middle school next year. So that fall, once this school starts, it starts to get a little bit challenging because not only do I have my work, but I have Janie's going to be a senior, so I want to make sure I see all her soccer games.
Yeah.
And then my twins are going to be probably playing middle school soccer, and then of course I'll see my stepson because I'll be on the sideline. But yeah, so navigating that it keeps me active.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, so that's a reason. There's a reason why I walked here from City Hall. You know, I got to make sure that ticker is ticking.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. What do you think has been challenging? Just the sacrifices that it's taken to like maintain the commitment to the teams. Like, I mean, what's hard about coaching to you?
So the Eastern gig was the hardest.
Just the driving all the way out to Tupper's Plains.
So it was wanting to start a family, and it's about a 45-minute drive to and a 45-minute drive from. So that hour and a half a day actually adds up, especially considering the life of a coach. You typically practice ends, the players leave, but the coaches often stick. You know, and we talk for a little bit, sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. You know, so over time, that is a pretty significant commitment.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. So when the Athens opportunity arose, I was really there's my gig.
Yeah, zap the time right back to your day.
This is the time, and you know, and everything worked out exactly how it was supposed to. You know, Ryan coming on staff and Ryan understanding how things were going to be that first year, and then the change of scenery with the league, and it all just plotted right neatly into place.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't. There are sacrifices, but those sacrifices are, in my opinion, for the greater good. I believe that coaching is my way of giving back.
Yeah,
And,
I get that. Yeah.
I love it. I love being able to give back in a way that is that makes sense to me. You know, I don't have anything against anybody's way of giving back. Just my way is, I feel like I get a lot of satisfaction in coaching. As a matter of fact, in those first couple days that I'm out on the field, it's not uncommon for me to feel like that's my church.
Yeah.
You know, and I just feel
It's where I'm supposed to be.
It's where I'm supposed to be. It's very spiritual to me. And it just everything about it I like. I like the grind. I like routine. I like the Friday night lights. Just pregame meals. All of it. It's just all good.
Yeah.
You know, the band playing on the sidelines. You know, cheerleaders jumping down. It all makes sense to me. You know, and you had this awesome stretch that you were a part of where high school football was real in Athens County.
Yeah.
You know, with not only Athens but
Trimble.
transcended
boundaries for
there
sure.
There were multiple schools that had success all at once, and it was really a cool thing to see because historically there was a kind of a jab that the rest of the state would give towards Southeast Ohio or TVC schools. You know, week conference. Well, those years where you were in there, it wasn't a weak conference. It was a very competitive conference, and multiple teams made noise at a state level, which is really fun to be a part of as a coach.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would see that as a coach. I played in 2 state championship games as a player, lost both, and I played in a I played in a Final Four game. So 3 years of my high school experience, I was playing for championships of some type. Never, as a coach, did I think that we'd be coaching a state championship caliber team from Athens, Ohio.
Yeah.
That was a really cool thing, and just coaching on Thanksgiving Day was like, what? We're coaching on Thanksgiving Day. That's a goal for lots of coaches, and they never meet that goal, and we did because of people like you.
I appreciate that.
No, I
Good
appreciate
leadership.
you.
Yeah. I think maybe I invited 2 coaches, but yeah, you're like, for sure. I don't know why you stuck out to me so much. You just, like, for sure. There were a couple guys that, like, were great role models for me. And I remember you coming to, like, my graduation. And, like, I even remember, like, in college, like, I thought about calling you up. I ended up calling Kevin Swartzel instead. but, like, for sure, yeah. I got a lot out of the program. And so I could also relate to, like, that's how I give back. It's exciting. And I learn a lot. Like, I still feel like 12 years old sometimes when I hear Kevin Swartzel, like, lighting into somebody that, it's like, you got to keep getting up and keep getting up. Yeah, it's hard. What are you going to do? You want to quit? You want to walk away? And I find a lot of times, like, I'll just be in a poor mindset, and then I'll hear some stuff like that from Kevin Swartzel, and it just, like, whips me right into shape. And it's beautiful. Yeah. So I feel like I'm still getting coached when I'm with him,
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
And that you speak of essentially coaching psychology right there, and you're a coach yourself now, which so translating what you learned as a player and what you learned from your life experiences into something that you can teach new people to the game it's an art and a gift, so having that gift and be able to turn it into something tangible for a young athlete is really important. And to this day, if I'm having a rough day or if I'm feeling a little bit mentally down, there are things that I have from all the experiences, not only as a player growing up, but as a coach going through some of the challenges that we've went through as coaches. You learn how to deal with life better, so there's probably very few roadblocks that I can't sit back and say, okay, we're going to navigate this, and this is how we can do that. So it's really a lot of life lessons in sport. I don't want to just say football, but in sport in general. Yeah. I'm partial to football.
Yeah, makes sense. That's awesome. Cool. Well, like, outside of the football field, like, how has Athens changed for you? Or has it? Like, you kind of talked about the college bubble, and then you kind of the post college life, and then, like, as a parent going through a couple different school systems. Like, how has Athens changed for you over the years?
It's been a ride, man. So when I came to Athens in 1990, I didn't explore a whole lot, but some of the instant memories that come to mind are going to Perkins with my grandfather, my dad's father, and it was and Perkins was on Columbus Road.
And what is it?
Breakfast place.
Okay.
Breakfast joint, similar to IHOP or
Gotcha.
Bob Evans, Waffle House, in that vein. It was really good, but I remember my grandfather coming down my freshman year, and it was him, my grandma, my mom and dad, and we all went to Perkins, and then he never came to visit again because he got sick. So it's a really important memory to me at Perkins. So of all the things in terms of change that people experience in Athens, that was probably my change that I felt the most at that time. But East State Street wasn't even developed yet. I mean, that whole right-hand side as you're driving out East State was an airstrip. So seeing that growth over the last 30 years has been quite impressive. But my experience, so my college experience, I worked as a bartender.
Yeah, where at? You said on Union?
It was at the Greenery for a long time.
It's not here anymore.
Gone, so it's now the Overhang and apartments.
That's cool.
But the Greenery was where I spent a lot of time during college. I paid my way through with money that I got from working and student loans.
Cool. That's cool.
Didn't pay off my student loans until I was in my mid-30s, but I paid them off.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah. So Court Street, just that change, that dynamic. So living that college life, socially, that nightlife. When I graduated from college and started working for the city, my life did a complete 360 in terms of how I managed my day.
Yeah.
So at the bar, the night scene, I wouldn't get done until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I slept until pretty late.
Yeah.
I scheduled my classes, to be later and off the night classes just so I can navigate that. But when I got out of college, I had to flip that to a 8 to 4 gig. And then I was still bartending in the evenings.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't have kids.
Yeah.
So it was like, I can do this, make a little extra money.
It's like fun.
Yeah, and
it
was fun.
It's good gig.
I really got close to the Sunday crowd and started watching NASCAR racing with them.
That's cool.
But here's a story. I haven't watched a NASCAR race since one fateful day on a Sunday.
Dale
Earnhardt.
I knew it. Yeah.
Died.
Wow.
I'm like, we're watching this, and this happens in real time. There's probably 30 people sitting at the bar and at tables watching this on a big screen. And when that crash happened, I don't know racing, so I don't know all the intricacies. Pin drop, beyond pin drop, you could have heard an atom move in that bar. It was so quiet. Like everybody that was in the racing knew at that moment that man lost his life. And I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. So I haven't watched the race since. Well. But up to then, I was this is kind of cool. This is fun. I had a crowd.
That is cool. Like when you build a crowd, that is awesome.
That is awesome. You build you build a community.
Certainly.
Community building's always been really important to me. So you build that community. Unfortunately, sometimes communities fade away, but you create new ones.
At the pub, like I bartended at the pub, same, very similar story. Like we had our Tuesday crowd, like me and my roommate at the time, we called it Pub Tuesday. It was beautiful. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so you did stick around Athens right after you graduated. Like, was there a specific reason? Like, were you in a relationship? Like, just kind of
luck.
Okay.
Fate.
Nice. Yeah.
So I'm bartending in the downstairs of the Greenery on a Monday night, and it would have been a Tuesday because we opened up the upstairs for a country night.
Cool.
So this man comes into the Greenery. He was probably mid-50s or so, maybe early 60s. Comes in. He has a sports coat on, button-down shirt. Looked like he was
doing something.
I don't want to say businessy, but he looked like he was there for a reason.
Yeah.
So he comes in and he says, "Hey, is so-and-so here?" And I'm like, "No." So I went and checked the schedule, and I was like, he comes in at 10, and he's going to be working upstairs. And this is like 9 o'clock. So he's like, "Oh, I'll wait for him." So he sat down, and I was like, "Well, can I get you anything?" And he ordered a drink. And it was fairly quiet in there, and he just started chatting with me. And come to find out, he was the service safety director for the city of Athens, looking for his son, who was my fraternity brother, or is my fraternity brother. And he starts talking about this thing called GIS, just Geographic Information Systems.
Okay.
So in the late 90s, it was really relatively unknown. So basically, it's computerized mapping using software. So I had happened to take a couple classes in mapping and cartography in college. So he said, "Do you know anything about this?" And I was like, "I know some stuff. I'm not an expert with the software, but I'm a quick learner," which was true. So we keep on talking, and at the end of that night, right before his son came in, he said, "Come see me tomorrow at 8 o'clock at City Hall." Like, what? Okay. So I go see him at 8 o'clock at City Hall. He passed me over to another person, said, "You're going to interview for a job." So I interviewed for this Geographic Information Systems analyst job, and I got it. He hired me.
And this is after you graduated, right? So you're just hanging out in Athens?
Right after I graduated.
Okay.
Like,
did you have a plan? Were you about to leave? Like what?
I was thinking about. I was thinking my next move.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm probably going to go back to Steubenville.
Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of things kind of fell into place, and I got hired, and I started working for the city as a GIS analyst, and I did that for about 5 years. Like I built the foundation of our GIS system.
Wow.
And then once that was almost done, that same person that hired me said, "Hey, we need to move you around a little bit because I don't want you to go. I don't want you to lose the job. You'll still be doing this, but it's not going to be full time." So a street department supervisor position came open, and so I tested for it, passed it, interviewed, and got it. So.
Nice. And then that's what you did, like while you were coaching me and stuff. Until
Yeah. So no. So let me see. You were 2012 through 15, right?
Yeah.
So
14 would have been the last.
14 would have been
15
the last
graduation.
Season, yeah. So your sophomore year was 12.
Yep.
June, yeah. So no, I was in a way. I went up to City Hall in 2009. So right after Janie was born, I had an opportunity to go be the assistant service safety director, and I took that. So I did that from late 2008 until 2019.
Cool.
And then I got into human resources.
Yeah,
in
which
2020,
crazy.
Where I'm at now.
Yeah, we bumped into each other in the Chicago airport. I tell that story all the time. Like,
I do too.
Just like I like creeped down. Like I saw a dude on an iPad, and I was just like, "Why do I feel like I know this man?" And I like kind of creeped up all awkwardly. Like that was just
that was
beautiful.
like that was
crazy.
wild.
Yeah, yeah.
I tell that story too,
That's
and one
funny.
of the big points of that is that you never know who you're going to see and where you're going to see them. You know, it doesn't matter how big the world is always smaller than you think. So that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to San Diego this June for the
Exciting.
same conference.
Nice.
So if I run into you in the San Diego airport, I'll be like, "Man, this is wild."
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Cool. Nice. So then the transition to HR, like what made you like why did you start to pursue something else, or like how different of it was like the transition to HR from your other job, right? Like I'm pretty sure if I recall the conversation, it was like a pretty big change.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
So it's not even close. I mean, you deal as the position that I was in got changed to deputy service safety director at some point while I was in it. So that is kind of a support role in terms of making sure all the departments have their resources that they need. It's also a popular place for new ideas to fall and say, okay, this is a good idea. I think it's a good idea. Let's explore it. You know, so that person does that. So there's not a whole lot of management of people involved. It's more of resource gathering and fact finding and building things.
Yeah.
You know, so it was good. It was fun. I liked it.
It's not people central, you're saying.
Yeah, it wasn't people centric exactly. But the things that the job did affected people, if that makes sense.
It does.
It's mostly community members in terms of activities. Like I remember I didn't really start it, but I brought back the big Uptown holiday celebration that we have, Santa Claus and the hay rides and choirs and all the different businesses offering stuff to get people in the doors.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. I actually won an award from the Chamber of Commerce for that, like a Distinguished Service Award, which was kind of cool.
That's pretty sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I was excited about that. But when I got into HR, it was the person that hired me, the HR person at the time was actually called a personnel director. And so she was there for a significant period of my early career. But when she left, we went through HR directors like this cup of coffee, just fast. Like we go, and they weren't getting fired. It was that they were leaving for other opportunities. One left to go be closer to her hometown. One did lose their job. And then another person also wanted to get closer to their hometown. And then our most recent one before me was only in the position for about 6 months, and they left for, a six-figure job at one of the factories down towards Parkersburg.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know why people were leaving. It was just, it caused a lot of strife.
I could imagine.
Not having consistency in that area. People were getting confused, not knowing how to manage their benefits, not knowing how to manage their time off. Just a lot of things happen where I wanted to make sure that wouldn't happen again. So I put my name in.
Yeah, cool.
I went through the interview process. I'm a direct appointee of the mayor, so he hired me, and I've Started in December of 19. So my first real HR challenge was this little thing called COVID.
Oh my goodness.
There you
Right
go.
into the ringer, man.
Right
Yeah,
into it,
right into it.
So the experience I got from that, not having an HR degree or a huge HR background, I stepped in and did some things every once in a while I was the deputy service safety director. But, no real true experience of being a human resources director, other than just stepping in for a day or two.
Yeah.
So that was an eye opener. So COVID, nobody really knew what they were doing. So it was all new for everybody. So my colleagues outside of the city might reach out to them, but wouldn't get an answer because nobody knew.
Yeah.
So basically, we just implemented federal guidance and just kept on moving with that. And it was really one thing that I learned about that experience is with the HR side of things, I have kind of a knack for people. And I don't want to sound like I'm patting myself on the back.
Do it. Pat yourself.
It's just you get a lot of validation when you go to conferences that are focusing on something, and then you realize, wow, I did that. I did all that. I actually could have wrote some of those things that were solutions at these meetings or conferences I went to from other communities that were having questions. I was like, man, that made me feel pretty good. It really validated a lot of the things, so it gave me more confidence moving forward with HR. Do I make mistakes? Sure, make mistakes.
Who doesn't?
It's a hard job.
Yeah.
But I make them honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna research this. I'm gonna figure this out, and we're gonna roll with it. And if it's something that we make a mistake, we fix it. We don't just keep on doing the same thing over and over and over, knowing that it's not right.
Yeah. And expecting different results.
Yeah. Another thing that comes from coaching,
Yep.
like if I'm coaching a kid to do this and they're not picking it up, maybe it's not the kid. Maybe it's the coaching. Maybe it's okay that they do it that way. Some people have a low 3-point stance.
Yeah.
It's their body type. They're locked up. They're not flexible. The solution is yoga, not coaching. So trying to help them get into that area is, something that we often don't have the time to do, but you can suggest it to a kid. Let's stretch. You need to meet with a trainer.
That's crazy. That like we have a lot of kids. Yeah, the ankles and hips just like not getting tight because they like kind of bullshit the whatever, like the warm up, and that was a big focus this year for me. That I noticed that is crazy. Yeah. Wow. What about COVID? Like you had young children during that. What was it like for them? Like just school going? Like I couldn't pay attention to my teacher when I was in the classroom. Couldn't imagine like unsupervised sitting in my bedroom, like what that would be like. So like as a parent, what was that difficult for you? Was it difficult for them, or what were the challenges that you guys went through during that?
So the first challenge was I was standing in line with all 4 kids and my wife at a little ride called Rise of the Resistance in Disney World.
Oh no.
I was standing in line when we got the phone call that Athens is not going back. So it was spring break. We went to Disney World. Heard about there's little red rumblings
just
of
happened.
this thing called COVID.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like the same type of rumblings as there's this thing called bird flu or there's this thing called Ebola.
Yeah, I remember being in the bar and seeing like a map, and it was like there's a case in New York and a case there, and I just remember being like, why? Okay.
So I'm thinking that Ebola, or something like that's we'll figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after that phone call, my wife works at Alexander's schools. Yeah. So she actually used to work at Athens.
Yeah, just like a volleyball coach.
I
think I remember.
Coach.
Yeah,
she was a volleyball coach during your time. Actually, she was the coach of that team your senior year that went really far.
The volleyball team? Yeah, the girls. It was like our entire class. It wasn't just the boys. Shout out to the girls. Yeah, 2015.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that was, so she
was
cool. She was that coach. But we're standing in line for this ride, and then she gets a call saying Alexander's not going back.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, oh, man, this is real.
Yeah.
You saw people at Disney World, I don't want to say panic, but you saw
the news hitting people.
You saw the news hitting people. You saw lines get less crowded. Like you can visually see it.
Yeah.
It wasn't panic, but what we were in
silently
line for.
slipping out.
Silently slipping out. Yeah, like
That's
this
scary.
is
That's a little
serious.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get to the airport when we're on our way back, and the whole world is just shut down. Like we were like, we're not going to be able to get home. We're going to have to rent a car and drive 15 hours.
Scarcity mindset. Yeah, I can only imagine.
So the airport was still doing flights. We had to wear masks and all this stuff with security. But yeah, we got back from that trip, and then, COVID.
What do you do?
What do you do? What do you do? So yeah, that was. Then the school's closing really affected.
So how do they even administer it? Like the kids just got laptops, or?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So I remember going to the schools, and my kids are still in the Athens system, and my stepson's in the Alexander system. So there's differences, yet there's a lot of similarities. Public education, right?
Yeah.
So I remember coming and getting computers, and then Janie was my oldest, she was getting ready to go into middle school, and she missed a whole year of middle school. Now, that can be debated as whether it's good or bad. The middle school experience is very unique.
Can get rowdy, yeah.
But my twins were only they were in first grade.
That's, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, first or second. Yeah, first.
So can you even leave them home alone? I guess maybe you guys were working remotely too. Everything was shut down.
So everything was shut down. I remember they were doing their laptop stuff. They were going to school virtually, and initially it was okay. They were able to get through the school year, and then I remember that whole summer we had our core group of friends. We have a pool, so our pod had the same people that would come over and use the pool.
That's a blessing.
And
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, got old.
Yeah, I kind of. Yeah. Okay.
We're constantly
be careful what you wish for.
Constantly entertaining, and no ill will towards anyone. Just it was a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, navigating that. But the following year, when school started, first things happened were, of course, football season was changed. My football season as a middle school coach just got canceled, so I didn't even coach that year. But they were fine initially, with the virtual schooling, but after the midpoint, I would say after Christmas break, they were done. They were completely checked out. I don't know if they really learned much of anything.
Not to discredit any of the teachers at all. It's just
no,
100%. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
Thing.
Yeah.
The teachers are wonderful,
doing what they can.
What they can.
Yeah.
But that area before they went back, I think they went back at some point in the spring quarter. What used to be my twins being down in their room, their rooms are in our basement, and there's this living area out front of that where they kind of hang out. What went from engagement and cameras on turned into disengagement, cameras off, and I had to check on them to make sure they were doing what they needed to do.
Yeah.
So they were done, So luckily, they were able to get back into that routine of going to school. I believe it was voluntary initially.
If your kid wanted to go.
If you wanted your kid to go back, you could send them back. But it wasn't forced. There was this virtual. It was this weird option. I remember kids actually being in class where a teacher was teaching to a class, but also had their camera on, so they're teaching to people that aren't at school.
Yeah.
So navigating that whole thing was certainly a challenge. I don't know. You hear a lot about how kids, and you're a coach, were affected by COVID. I see signs, but I don't see consistency. So it's one-offs here and there. That kid probably struggled with COVID, or that kid probably handled COVID okay.
Yeah.
But it is something that I look out for. In not only in my professional area, but also in my coaching area. I look out for signs of COVID. In work, mental health is a big deal right now. So I'm frequently looking at mental health solutions for our workers.
Yeah.
Because it's such a big deal, and COVID is possibly one of the root causes of that.
Yeah.
So
it's wild. Makes sense.
But even kids, it's not uncommon for my twins who are in 6th grade to every once in a while when I'm talking to them at dinner after the day, talking about, their mental health. I'm like, what, man? I didn't do that when I was a kid. I'm 3 generations removed from my kids, right? I'm Gen X, and then there's millennials, and then
Z, and then Alpha,
Gen Z. I don't know if they've named them yet, but yeah, I'm just my experience as a kid did not include mental well-being. It was, but today's generation, those young kids, they're very aware of it.
Certainly,
and it's like, wow, they're so much smarter than me than I was.
I think that,
at the same age.
How were you 12 years old? I didn't, because you don't know what to expect, especially not having children. I am a child. I'm 27 years old. I'm not grown.
I'm 52 and I'm a child.
Yeah, so I didn't really have an expectation, but the gap is a lot wider than I thought. It's just as from a maturity standpoint, or just emotional intelligence. It's a lot broader gap, but. Sometimes something would happen and I would just be like, oh, this kid is 12 years old. The motor's just going, which is exciting. And I don't know, for some of the cases that kids that you're just kind of make you nervous, there's 4 more that are just killers, that really make me hopeful. And I think that's
exactly.
incredible.
You see that a lot. I hear that from my generation and maybe some of the older generation, like the boomers that might still be in the workplace or whatnot, or my parents or my mom. They will say things like "kids today." It's like, you said that to me when I was a kid.
Yep.
My grandmother would say "kids today." Here is I can't say this is fact, but here is my experience. This is what I believe. The kid hasn't changed. The parents' perception of the kid's changed. So kids still are going to do what kids do. They just have different resources to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be their social engagement being on in a digital space.
Yeah. Well, that social media. We never got talked to about social media when we were playing. It's weekly that they're pushing, talking to kids about social media posts and the social media dynamics.
Their schooling, they don't get textbooks anymore. They can buy them if they want, but all their stuff is through their laptops.
No,
they go
even
on,
though they're back now.
So even though they have my twins will get a worksheet.
It's what we did in college, the Connect stuff.
It's
McGraw-Hill,
So my college experience, I remember going to a college bookstore and buying books or follets. You bought your book, and they were expensive. It was $500 for a quarter of books. Yeah. But it's changed, so that learning environment's very different. But they're good at it, and them being the kids, those people that are in elementary school, middle school, high school, college. So I just had a cohort at OU in their HR program work with the city of Athens for recruiting for our city pool and our summer camp counselors. And there were 10 groups, and they did what they do. They got some information from me, and then they did what they needed to do to try to build recruitment campaigns. And they presented to us last week, and I was absolutely floored at the stuff that they shared to succeed. They succeeded. They got our pool has over 100 employees already.
Whoa, you wouldn't think they're that many. That's crazy.
Wow. The new pool has a lot more staffing requirements than the old pool.
With the wall and the diving boards.
Every body of water requires lifeguards.
I see.
Whereas when you had just 2 bodies of water, you can lifeguard that differently. There's just state standards.
Nice.
So and you don't want to burn your lifeguards out, so you hire a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they had these great ideas and stuff that I've been struggling with in terms of how do we get young people to work in public service? And their ideas were a lot. When I'm looking around your website or trying to even find your application, I didn't know where to look. I thought it was readily available. Yeah. Apparently it's not, and they were talking about, I didn't realize how significant LinkedIn was to a college kid's life. It's huge. Yeah. So not having a LinkedIn presence other than my personal one. TikTok. They're talking about TikTok and how TikTok and impressions and all this.
It's where their eyes are at. The LinkedIn thing
content creators is huge.
That was pushed in college. Even when I was in college, 5 years ago, there were classes that the class assignment was literally setting up your LinkedIn and making your like specific profiles. So like instead of having like linkedin.com/ and then a bunch of random stuff, it would be linkedin.com/ your first and last name, or so there's just like small details, getting your resume to it and doing all this. So like there, even back then there was like a huge push, and even now, like in the professional world, my corporation sends out like, once or twice a year, like the marketing people reach out and be like, kind of, hey, here are some best practices to like make our accounts look the same and stuff like that. And so it's even harped on us now. But I got burnt out. Like during college, was the viceroy for Barstool's campus account at OU.
Okay.
And so I was on social media probably like 40 or 50 hours a week for like all of college. And right at the end of college, I deleted it all just because I got burnt out on it. And now with the podcast, I'm trying to come back into it. And it's a little overwhelming, like coming back. But yeah, it did. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. In podcasting, that's another thing, like just trying to reach a 52-year-old HR director. Not that I'm old, but I'm older than 18.
Seasoned.
I'm older than 22. So I don't have all the answers in terms of how to engage with younger people. Our problem in the public sector, particularly in this area, is that it's aging. Like our average worker is not 22, 23. Yeah. It's in the upper 40s. So that's a long-term problem. We want to make sure that we're constantly bringing in those 20-somethings into the workplace without being, without breaking any EEO laws, right? You can't do that.
Yeah.
You're best fit for the job. That's who gets it, right? The most qualified. That's how we have to hire. But they're not even applying, So just getting interest from a young person to even apply is a challenge. So, hopefully we gain some things. Maybe a City of Athens podcast is something that would, I don't know. Again, no idea is a bad idea. This is a life lesson I got from my first boss, the guy that hired me. I've always been an idea guy, and I'll spit ideas out all the time. But I remember this lesson, and it was, I had an idea, and it was in a staff meeting with all our department heads, and this was probably 98 range. So, just a short 27 years ago. How old are you?
27.
So when you were an infant, I said this. I had an idea, and it was met with resistance and, a little bit of badgering. I was to the point that it almost broke me. I was like, man, I guess I won't have any ideas anymore. That man recognized that I was going through a little bit of an emotional crisis because of that. And he took me outside and walked around City Hall, and he said, the day you stop giving me ideas is the day I fire you. And I was like, whoa, that was powerful. So to this day, no matter how good or how bad or how indifferent it is, if I have an idea, it's coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. That's a great empowerment. So you said some of what you think might be hard. Like, do you want me to get you some water for that?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Not being able to like readily find the application on the website. Like, what other challenges do you think? Just like eyes, you think people aren't hearing about the opportunities?
No, I think it's bigger than that. I think that with this particular group of young folks, they're interested in money. They want to make dollars, so
all college graduates talk about starting salary.
Yes,
it's just, I think, an off aim, but
I mean, I understand it. You put in this effort and you want to have some type of financial reward for that effort. So I get it. But public service isn't known for, making
monetary benefit,
the fat pockets, right? It's other benefits, the community service element, helping people, great benefits, whether it be insurance, like my healthcare is top of the line. Like
it's awesome.
It's ridiculous how good it is. Which you don't realize is a value at another job. Like if I go get a job and I'm making $10,000 more than what I would in public sector, I may be spending that on insurance over time.
Total reward package, right?
Total
rewards.
Exactly.
You should consider that.
So total rewards, like our retirement, OPERS is a really good retirement system. Like it's, for our match, the city kicks in a little bit more.
OPERS is Ohio Public Retirement
Public
System.
Employee Retirement System. So all state employees belong to OPERS, and it's a great retirement system, so I'll be able to actually retire in about 5 years.
Is that the same
I
thing
doubt that I
cops too,
will.
right? Public service. Yeah.
So cops are in a different one. They're in the FOP. They're in Ohio Police and Fire Pension. So police officers and firefighters have a different pension system. It's a really good one as well.
Yeah,
Teachers are in a different pension system. They're in STRS, which is State Teachers Retirement System, and then there's school employees like custodians and bus drivers, office assistants. They're in SERS. Coaches often fall into SERS. Like I pay into SERS.
I'm pretty sure I don't know. It's on my W-2 or whatever. I don't
it's
know.
SERS.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So since you're not a teacher, you're in SERS.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
you'll be able to use that time. I cannot, because you can't have two pensions coincide with each other. Like that money's there, so eventually I'll pull that over into my OPRS account, or I'll just take it in cash.
Yeah.
But it doesn't count towards my years of service, because you can't have two at the same time.
I see.
But anyway, so those are some of the benefits. Community center membership. We 13 holidays, personal days, maternity, paternity care. These are all things that we've put in over time, but still, if you're not paying the money to a young college graduate or a young person that didn't even go to college, they're doing a different career path. It's the dollar. They're not thinking healthcare yet. Because they're healthy.
Yeah, I get that.
You're not.
Yeah.
So trying to get people in the door when you're not able to offer that financial reward, you have to think of different ways to get them sold on it.
Yeah.
And that's been a challenge, not just for me. It's public service in general.
Yeah, I think you have to learn that through example though, right? Because even not for somebody like me, went to got an accounting degree, went into public accounting, certainly there's a dollar amount where it just doesn't matter anymore. Adam Cody, he's works at ACENET in Athens, Appalachian Center for Entrepreneurial Networks, and he was talking about how he went into the financial sector for a few years in Cleveland, and was just I looked at my bank account and it was cool, but I didn't get a lot much else out of it. And I hear that theme a lot of sure, it paid really well, but there was just something that wasn't there, right? There was some type of void. And yeah, I think that's a hard lesson, right? And it's the hardest ones you got to learn sometimes the hard way. I don't know. Even for me, I think that to some degree I could understand what they're trying to get at. It just doesn't matter, whether at some point. But also a lot of people tell me my perspective will change when I do have another mouth to feed, and life is a lot bigger than what right now, I'm not married, don't have a mortgage, very minimal things going on, but
everybody's different. I don't know what your experience is going to be, because you're you. Your experience is going to be very unique to you. And that's really what I would tell all the young graduates. I might want to be able to tell you what public service is about, but ultimately that's a you decision. Hopefully I can get you hooked. But my advice or my opinion would be that, look, whatever you do, get some satisfaction out of it, because if you don't, that's a long time that you're going to be working, and it can affect you mentally if you're not doing something.
Quiet desperation.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of quiet quitting.
Explain it. Yeah.
So quiet quitting is a phenomenon where people, they don't really quit, but there's a lot of expectation on some members of the workforce that you're going to do your job, but you're also going to do X, Y, Z, double A, double B, double C, because I told you to. Quiet quitting is, you know what? I'm tired of doing X, Y, Z, double A, double D, double B, double C. I'm going to do what's on my job description. So that's a recent phenomenon. A lot of people relate it to COVID and being forced back into the workplace. But you don't want that. You want people that are genuinely engaged in the work they do, and if something pops off that is extra, they're going to find that as just a part of their job, and not I got to do this.
Yeah. It's that's your job. This is my job. That just doesn't lead anywhere good.
Exactly. So once that starts happening in your work environment, that's when you probably need to start looking at some solutions. Why is that happening, and how can we fix that?
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing about HR, because I get to have those conversations with department heads or supervisors if there is a challenging employee. What's the root of that problem?
Yeah.
Have you identified that? And oftentimes that answer is no. And so it's like, okay, we need to work on that.
And sometimes that's not even work related.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like there's a lot to think about.
Well, another way the workforce has changed over the last 50 years, 60 years, work was work. I don't care about your personal life. You're going to come to work and you're going to do X, Y, and Z for me, and I'm going to give you a paycheck. And that's it. I don't care about your kids. I don't care about your problems at home. I don't care. Well, that workplace dynamic is gone, where you spend so much time in the workplace that you're naturally going to develop relationships with people.
Yeah.
So why not put those relationships to your advantage? Why not make them positive? Why don't you, okay, I know who my team is. I know who is strong in this. I know who's strong in that. Let's manage our workforce by using their skills to the greatest potential.
Yeah.
And that's really the modern workforce. I get excited thinking about the opportunity of having an intern that is in HR and putting them to work to build us some TikTok presence.
Yeah.
Just like I've never had that before.
Yeah.
So, am I the expert on it? No, but I trust you because we hired you to make it happen. So empowering people to do stuff. I know one thing about that the younger generation coming into the workplace, they're not only really technically savvy, but they're also feedback hungry. So providing that feedback, whether positive or negative, is something that we have to do. The old workforce way was not like that. It's like, your feedback is you still have a job.
Yeah.
It's different.
Certainly.
You tell that to someone now, in like a younger person coming into the workplace, they're probably going to not respond well to that.
Yeah. I wouldn't respond to that.
Yeah. So we have to get better. We always have to grow.
Mm-hmm.
We always have to learn, and we always have to grow. And to me, that is my life. My life is growth. I want to grow all the time, whether it be understanding how to communicate with my children or my wife, or finding hobbies that I enjoy, growing as a coach, growing as a human resources professional. If I stayed stagnant, I don't have anything to look forward to. Always look forward to something, whether it be that training coming up, or whether it be that vacation coming up, or whether it be that soccer game, or whether it's pizza on Friday.
Yep.
Always look forward to something. That way you're always moving forward.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Wow. Dude, Ron Lucas, have you ever considered leaving Athens? Has anything ever tempted you out, or have you always just kind of once you locked in and had kids here and stuff, you're like, this is where I'm at? Would you consider leaving now? Why do you stay? Why are you still here?
I love Athens.
Yeah.
Athens is an interesting community, and I mean that in the best way. Some of the things that happen in Athens don't happen in other places. Like when I try to explain, when I go on vacation and people ask where I'm from, and I say Athens, Ohio, most people don't know much about it. And I often say Athens is a true college town. And that seems to spark a little bit of interest. Like, what do you mean by that? I was like, Ohio State is in Columbus, and it's just a little teeny part of Columbus.
Yeah.
Ohio University is in Athens. It's a big school. 75% of Athens is OU.
Yeah.
So it's a significant part of our life. So as a person that just, I'm an OU alumni, but I'm also in Athens. I actually live in Albany. But seeing the things that happen in Athens are just, it's Athens, and it's beautiful. It's there's a lot of people with different ways and different styles, and they all come together and create this really cool community.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever, I want to get my kids through school,
Yeah.
So that's close for a couple of them, but the twins, they still have 6 years of school left,
Yeah.
So my career, I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
I like working for the city of Athens. So I don't know. I do want to travel and see things though before I get old and crusty. And can't do it anymore. So that's important to me.
Yeah.
So just whatever. Like I enjoy going to concerts. I enjoy cruises. And just I enjoy getting in a car and driving.
Yeah.
Just to the next thing. What can we go see? I like that. So
that's cool. I get why people want to raise a family here. It can make sense.
Yeah. It's safe. It's a safe community. And that's important to a lot of people, including me. So thinking of going, to a bigger city, there's some challenges there. Not that all big cities are unsafe, but it's different. I have what I need here. I love the food. I love that we have a Division I sports caliber team, playing over at Peden or in the Convo, or playing softball on a Tuesday night. It's there.
The Copperheads in the summer.
Yeah, the Copperheads in the summer. And our trails and our bike path. Just uptown. Everything comes together to create this really cool community, and I just love it here. Like I'm glad that I am thankful for this little bar called the Nickelodeon that was open in 1989 when I was looking at schools. I was signed, sealed, and delivered to go to Bowling Green.
Oh,
I had my roommate assignment.
Wow.
And my sister, she's older than me, had a friend that was going to OU, and she wanted to come down and visit. And so we did. I came with her, and she took us out to this night spot called the Nickelodeon. It's right below. It was in Bromley Hall.
Whoa, no way! Like where the testing center is at.
First floor of Bromley Hall was a bar.
Bromley Hall was Bromley Hall, or not? Well, like it was
Bromley
an OU
was
dorm.
The College Inn.
Oh.
It was the College Inn. So yes, it was a dorm, but it wasn't directly affiliated with OU.
Oh, that's why the CI is called the College Inn?
Yeah.
Because that used to be the dorm there?
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So OU took it over at some point, but it was privately owned as the College Inn. And
I see.
The Nickelodeon, there was a barber shop, and there was something else in there. But anyway, the Nick was where not only I got that view coming from Marietta, coming 3250 coming into Athens and seeing that view of the Hocking River and the Convo. It's a beautiful view, especially with someone that never seen it before, And I was like, whoa, this is really pretty. And then walking through campus and then going to that bar and. I'm a 17-year-old kid. It was pretty like, man, this is cool. This is fun. They're playing music that I enjoy. There's people dancing. They're having a good time. I'm like, yeah, I think I might like it here.
Yeah.
So I withdrew from Bowling Green before I even started and applied here, got in, and the rest is history. Yeah. So Athens has a way with certain people. It sucks them in.
It's an incredibly beautiful story.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, man.
Yeah, of course.
What else you want to know? Anything?
No.
I could keep going.
For sure.
I know you probably have time limits, but
no, I don't. No, man. I mean, like, what else? Like, what businesses do you frequent? Who do you want to shout out? Yeah.
Oh man, shout outs. I frequent quite a bit.
Pizza Stop. Shout out to Pizza Stop. We live out in Albany too, and I frequent Pizza Stop.
We get Pizza Stop quite often.
Nice. Yeah. Shout out.
And actually, my wife Natalie, she worked for Josh and Leah for the summer when they first opened.
The little one.
The drive-through.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool,
So
cool.
when they opened the drive-through, they needed workers. So Natalie went over there before she got her AG job, and she worked there, and she learned a lot, and learned what most people's favorite beverage was or whatever. And Josh and Leah do a lot of good stuff for the Albany community, and we do frequent there. Local to Athens, I'm a Jackie O's fan.
Yeah, cool.
So I like to eat there. I like to have a couple beverages there. It's just a cool spot. I prefer the Stimson Avenue location.
Okay. Yeah.
But once OU clears out this weekend, uptown locations are awesome.
Stay out this weekend. Come back Monday.
Yeah.
Spots everywhere on Court Street.
Yeah. Exactly. So I O'Betty's.
Shout out.
O'Betty's,
love
O'Betty's Hot Dogs is just an awesome place. The people that run that are so nice. And the food is just to die for.
It's like the only, after COVID, like I just remember when I was in college before COVID, there were like 10 spots open, after 12, 1 in the morning. And now it's like Obetti's. It's maybe Slovakia's every once in a while. But yeah, because I don't go out often, obviously, after college as well. But the couple times that I have, like, we we went to Obetti's because it was the only place open.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Betty's gets a lot.
Dixie and some cheese fries. Fire me up. Yeah.
So I'm Blaze and Cajun fries.
Oh yeah,
So,
cool.
So they know my order too.
That's
which
awesome.
is really cool. Scary and cool.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to lose a couple pounds, so I'm trying not
You look
to go.
good, Coach. You do.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate it. But yeah, I've been like, okay, maybe I'll just go to Betty's once every couple weeks instead of twice a week.
Yeah.
Because it's that happens, especially when you work uptown. It's
Yeah.
so easy.
Yep.
Goodfellas, shout out.
Yeah, love Goodfellas.
I do love Goodfellas.
Yeah.
It's good pizza. It reminds me a little bit of my hometown pizza. Square
Like
style.
the pan. Yeah.
Square style cheese. Excuse me, pepperoni. But Ohio Valley style pizza is very different. And you had it. Well, you had it available to you at that game.
Oh, really?
Nobody ate it. They ate the
that's
Domino's.
hilarious.
I'm like, so no lie.
Yeah.
I took 10 boxes of pizza
That's crazy.
after that game to my mom and dad's house.
Dude, that Steubenville game, that bus ride back was I just remember half of the team cramping on that bus ride back from Steubenville. Yeah.
Remember that rainstorm, man? That driving rainstorm during the game in the second half?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm confusing with the Megs Mud game. That's what I
Oh,
was
no, this was Steubenville. So
yeah.
the first half Steubenville game, we were down at halftime. We go in the locker room, and I remember Trey giving one of the best senior speeches I've ever heard. And then we came out in the second half, and it was a driving rainstorm. And we came out throwing.
Yeah.
Like, Coach White was like, I don't care if it's raining. We're going to sling the rock. And, Jack back there throwing the ball to Z and the Lermans, and man, it was just beautiful watching it all come together.
That is.
That driving rainstorm. So those are great core memories.
Just exhausted.
Yeah.
And we had like the nice bus and everything. So felt
Probably
fancy.
slept on the bus on the way back.
Until my calves started cramping. What do you? Dude. The I think Trey had a double hamstring, double quad, like all the entire legs. It's like, what do you do? It was funny stuff, man.
Oh,
awesome.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah,
What was the key to the success of your 3 years as a varsity player?
I think it started 7 years before that. Like, I think that I think my left tackle trusted me to do my job. I think I trusted my center to do his job. The center trusted both you know what I mean? I think I think a lot of the kids on that varsity team played from third grade all the way through. Not a lot of positions changed in that time. Like, it was, everyone kind of found their lane. Like Ryan Lerman used to be our tailback, stuff like that, went out to receiver. But I think it was actually, I'm pretty sure, let me pull this out of the brain, like our slogan or mantra was like, just a bunch of friends playing football. Like, I think it was that, man.
Good.
Like, it was like people complicated simplicity. Like, I think we fucking loved showing up to football practice. I think that there was this like unspoken camaraderie of just like getting your ass busted. Like, it was like there wasn't an option not to go to summer workouts or things. You know what I mean? And also too, just having the kinds of guys that you did. Like, we had incredible leaders that they led. Obviously they had a voice. The Joes, the Treys. I think my very favorite like kind of leadership moment was actually Trey, St. Vincent, St. Mary's halftime. Like, the coaches kind of like even walked out and Trey just fucking lit it up. And yeah, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. So I don't know. Like, I don't think it was anything special. I think it was like just a bunch of friends playing football, man. I think our coaches were incredible. I think like we'd have laid it out 10 years later. Still now I'd take a bullet for you. Like, no questions asked. Coach White, Coach Adams, like a lot of the guys. Like, when we do get the guys back together every once in a while, like, it does not feel like a day has changed, And then you hear like Coach White saying like, we are starting to get to the age that he was when he started coaching, and just shit like that is just crazy. So for us to, I don't know, for 10 years to go by and to just still meet those kids and like nothing feel the same. that is maybe what's special. Like the sports part wasn't special, just like the group of dudes. And like even now, like I talked to Kevin Moberger, like even now, like if you don't talk to somebody forever, like I'll text Bryce Graves, thinking about you, man, love you. Kevin Moberger. It's I think that I don't know, I don't really have an answer for it. I didn't really try to like like make anything happen. But like also too, like just shit, I don't know, like Coach Rogers, when I like in between my junior senior year, he invited me to work out in the mornings with him and Kurt Roberts, John Roberts. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Coach Roberts.
Yeah, they were doing
P90X in the mornings, and like and there's just like, I was like, hey man, maybe my footwork would get a little better if I weighed a little less and stuff like that. And so just even like that, like I mean, Coach White would show up some of the time, and so just like to have that, like to be able to like go, I mean, I think we were fully supported by the coaching staff. Like that made me spin zone that. Let me put it on the coaches. Like we had incredible leadership, like to rattle off the names you did, wow. And it just made sense to me. I talked about how, the chemistry really started 7 years before that. It sounded like a lot of the people that were our coaches had our same deal. Like they'd been together for so long. How long had you and Adams and Big Rogers? It's like the coaching staff kind of very similar to the football team, where it was just like, everyone trusts, like it felt like there was a lot of trust and just like, yeah, do your job, I'll do mine.
There was.
I mean, Coach Adams, man, like for sure. I think Coach Adams individually is like why I coach now, I mean, Swartzel, huge impact. It's like Coach Adams is just a little different time frame wise. I had developed a little bit more, but I mean, like I almost quit sophomore year, like football. John Kiefer and Jerry Pierce just road grade my ass for an entire 2-day. Like a scout O beat me up, scout D beat me up. Like we did a walk jog sprint at the end. I'm not a conditioning guy. And I like coach, he just saw something, and I was the last kid to get picked up that day. I was just sitting out in the rocks right outside the wall, and he just like walked up to me. He's like, "Hey man, like you keep taking it on the nose like that, you're gonna be eating boogers one day." And I don't know why he said it to me, but like I'll remember that day forever, because like I was like, "Fuck this! What am I doing? Like what am I doing?" Like it was like hard because I had lost the starting spot to Coulter. Like he became the center, right? Like it was, we were duking it out. There was one spot open it's just like. Even that, I don't know. It's just incredible. Like I could talk about football forever. I don't know. Yeah, but
I could too. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you were able to open up like that, because I think about it a lot. I think about how we were able to build that, and it wasn't. There were so many things that came together. So many things.
Stars aligned.
Yeah, literally stars aligned.
I mean, didn't Burrow, Solich, and Albin, like that run for like a college coach's kid to stay in one town for his, you know what I mean? And then like the Trey Williams move in right at the right time, and
and the way that I would actually say the 2014 season, maybe the 13. There was a lot of stuff that I heard from the community saying how you win because you have so much talent, and I never really talked about it much, but I would honestly say those 2 seasons were probably one of the more difficult coaching times as a coach that I had. And it wasn't that you weren't talented; it was how do we get these kids nuanced to the point that they're going to take it all the way to this level. And there's some things that really stand out to me. Ryan, I have a huge amount of respect for Ryan Adams. Mm-hmm. I think he is certainly, man, I even talk like him sometimes.
Understand and realize the task at hand.
So we had a list of those, by the way, as coaches. We had a list of all those doubles and triples. Every once in a while you get a triple. And we still, we have a lot of chemistry still. We still have our coaches group.
That's cool.
That we every once in a while will text in and just bring up memories. But getting your group the reps and keep the focus, and it wasn't only a coaching thing that had to happen, but you guys took it upon yourselves to make it happen. Like there were so many things that were perfectly aligned. The community support, the Bulldog Blitz. all these things came together.
The Bulldog Blitz, man. Yeah.
Yeah, to make, Chuck Robinson is the AD. These are all elements that mattered. Going to a game on a Friday night. When we first started coaching together, there were just parents in the stands. Your junior and senior year, those fans were packed, not just with Athens people, but the visiting players, team, their travelers, but also Nelsonville kids, Trimble kids, Alexander kids. They're all coming just to watch the show. That was freaking beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And to be a player in that environment, I can't imagine how jacked you were. I can, because I saw it on Friday nights, as a player myself. But you take it for granted because we were always so good at Steubenville. Like, I never remember Steubenville not being good in high school football. But Athens was, at the time we were just building, so you see this house that you built. And it's really cool to look back on and say, man, all these things came together. It was not a cakewalk coaching gig with your group because you were so good.
Yeah.
Like, man, how can we get Catfish better?
Catfish. I love hearing that still. Like,
how do we get in his head? And having those conversations with Coach Rogers, and and another thing that Ryan Adams really did well is he let us coach. He didn't get into he was head coaching and doing his thing that he needed to do, but he let us do what he thought we needed to do to get it done, and he had complete trust in us.
That's exactly what I just explained with the players on the field, man. I trust that my boys beside me are going to do his job. I know Joe's going to do his. Trey's going to take off for 45 yards.
Man. And I'm coaching. I still coach, and trying to. You don't have a blueprint. You think you do, but every group's different. Every group has these different nuances. They're different challenges, different things that can come together. And once you're able to make it come together, you don't know what did it, whether it be a group of friends that just like to play football. I would say that goes probably pretty far. If you can find that in a grade or a couple grades, that group's probably going to be a pretty special group. And it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. Coach White is very excited about the group he's had in, like the sophomore, juniors. Like, they played a lot as sophomores and then again as juniors, and so I think he's got a lot of seniors this year. He's really excited for.
Love Coach White. My first couple years, he wasn't on staff, and then when he came on, just watching his mind, figure out how to beat a defense. Just the way he coached, I took a lot from Coach White. He actually helped me get more direct in my coaching.
Okay.
Before Coach White, I'd sometimes get a little long-winded, and then I watched Coach White. He's very direct, very matter of fact, even in the classroom when he's teaching.
Math is actually kind of direct and a matter of fact.
He's very direct, matter of fact. This is how you do it. Same way on the football field, at least when I was coaching with him. And I learned a lot from him. And actually, so when the whole offensive coordinator thing happened at Alexander, I was like, man, that's a cool opportunity. And just to be able to think about. I consider Coach White as as kind of a role model. To me,
certainly me too.
Even though I'm older than him, I feel like his approach to the game of football is the right way. I just really appreciated it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Watching him. Yeah, and then me and Coach Rogers, John Rogers, he was like it was like a good cop, bad cop relationship.
That's crazy. That's Kevin. Kevin will just get on those kids, and then 2 minutes later, I'm right near it. Hey, dog, you good? Good cop, bad cop.
So that was intentional.
Oh, no. I mean, I do that with him now, but I did it. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I do it intentionally.
We were intentional about that.
Yeah, that's smart.
Okay, so you're going to give Catfish a rash of shit right
now. Yeah, like John Rogers was that guy. He whipped, I remember having the
I would come in and put my arm around you.
I remember. I remember one time, they were like, should we take John out of the box and put him on the fucking sideline? Just because he just would whip, for sure. Yeah. And Definitely. I think that was probably because he was with us so much too. This, like the linemen, at least, like the linemen, the whole offseason stuff, like John Rogers and Coach White were like doing our lifting program. John Rogers was in the high school. And so, yeah, and then especially too the morning thing as well for me. But yeah, for sure. I remember him being very hard on us. For sure. Big Rogers, very intense too as well. I do kind of remember of all the, maybe that's why I think I gravitate towards you a little bit, because I'm also kind of like that. Like, yeah, like, what would it, like, yeah, a high emotional intelligence. Not that those guys don't, so it's just like comes off differently. Yeah, a little softer.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That group, so whether it be you or whether it be Coulter or McGinnis,
Garlock,
or Kevin, or I haven't seen Chris.
Me either.
But every time I've seen one of those people, it's like you said earlier. It's like you just pick up where you left off. It's not,
beautiful. Yeah.
It's not an uncomfortable silence. It's just it might just be a little jab with a joke or just things like that. Yeah. Like I saw Moberg a couple times over the last couple years, and it's just awesome seeing him. Like he's very personable, very down to earth, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this is another reason why we were so good. Is kids like Moberg that just wanted to play football with his friends, and he's just got such a big personality. It's just fun to be around.
I love Kevin.
It's like it's like you see these folks. Trey. Trey Williams. I hadn't talked to Trey in a while, and then some parent from my daughter's class reached out to me about a speaker for the athletic banquet. And I just happened to hear that Trey was in the area, and I reached out to him, and it was instantly, he's like, yes, I'd be honored to do that. So, just having those connections with those kids that you played football with, and it was just a special group. I lived it. It's hard to explain, but I know that it's a very special time in my life.
Yeah.
Was that era?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I don't know what else to say.
Right. I mean, I think this is good. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. This is incredible.
It was like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. Hopefully not the first football coach I can wrangle in here. That would be great. But yeah, it's great. And if you have like any suggestions, like kind of tied into the city, like if you have any suggestions of people that you think would be great to talk to, like again, no agenda conversation. I was pretty comfortable in this just because I know you pretty well, more so than maybe other people. But hopefully this just kind of grows. But yeah, I mean, I would love to connect with anyone that you think.
Yeah, any time I can be of assistance to get you connected with people, it would be nice. I think I've been in Athens for 35 years, but I'm still not from Athens. To have someone that maybe works for the city that's been born and raised in Athens, and I have a person that I think I'm going to talk to that I think would be good. I'm not going to say
don't want to put them on the spot.
I don't want to put them on the spot. I think it meets that definition of hey, I went to Athens schools. I graduated from Athens High School. I spent my professional life in Athens. I know this area and his outlook on things. And he happens to be, he was also involved with athletics. So, I think it would be a good connection.
Awesome.
But, But it's been fun. I enjoyed this. If you ever need me to come back or want me to come back,
open door anytime. You could come back anytime.
It'd be fun to maybe have a John, Bill, Ron.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Triple,
for sure.
Talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing but excitement towards like where this could go. I think it would be cool to get video in eventually. I think no video will be great for the time being because one, it's a lot easier for me to upload. Like I could upload this like less than 10 minutes after I press stop here, and so like that helps a lot. But yeah, it's just exciting. And I think too, like even just going to events, like there's this like composting event, like somewhere, maybe go to that. There's like this living traditions thing down in Pomeroy. They do like a quilt thing. And I'm excited to try to source people from just like getting into the community because, I've like come back and I use the coaching kind of as a function to support the community. But I think there's like more ways that this will kind of take. It's exciting, man. So yeah,
Absolutely.
looking forward to it.
One thing about this community, Athens in general, is there's a lot of different interests, and
It's crazy.
and every one of them is kind of interesting, and they
Yeah.
all work together. Again, to form this cool little community we call Athens.
Adam Cody, the very last guy I just had in, he came in on Tuesday. He said that, regardless of what it is, you could find somebody in Athens that's like going to support that idea and energy and just be like receptive. And so like two podcasts in a row, you hear that. That's beautiful, man. But Ron Lucas, again, thanks for all you do in the community. Thanks for the years of coaching. I can't imagine how many kids like remember you, because the one thing I would say is like, I probably reach out to you like 50 times for every time I think about you, so even if kids aren't reaching out to you, like I hope you understand how big of an impact you've made, Athens, Eastern, Alexander, like I appreciate it so much. And
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I'm still thankful you sold me that van a few years ago.
That's awesome. Yeah. Man, Duke, I think it'd be a great story looking back. Yeah. Like just coaching or like selling cars during college. Like I've done a lot, serving, bartending, public accounting, bagging groceries.
It's amazing how much you do when you look back on
Yeah,
it.
it is.
We didn't even get into the different projects that I've had involvement with or done.
The second episode, Ron Lucas Part 2.
Yeah, so it's just like but every once in a while you just step back and like think about what you've done, and that used to be a big part of my internal driver. Is part of my late 20s, early 30s is how am I going to be remembered? I've changed in terms of feeling that way, but there was a big part of me. But every once in a while that part takes over and you start thinking about what you've done. And then I look back and be like, man, I didn't realize I did all those things, whether it be in my professional career or whether it be in my, as a parent or whether it be as a coach, just all these things come together. And you just remember them at these just weird times, like just some thing will spark that memory, and it's like, wow. And then that leads into a whole nother world of memories. It's just really fun. Yeah. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much. I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Awesome. Thanks. Ron Lucas. Thanks so much.